All right, everybody. Welcome to Latin America Part 2. In Latin America Part 2, we're going to be talking about South America. But before we go any further, if you have not done the Latin America Part 1 map test, stop this video, go to quizzes, do that, and then come back here and we'll talk about Latin America Part 2. Now, if you're still here, you've already done the test, so let's continue. Ladies and gentlemen, South America. You're going to notice, first of all, Brazil, and I'm kind of focusing on Brazil just in this little intro part. Brazil is the largest country in South America, but one thing I want you to realize is, in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. If you've noticed, most of the countries so far that we've covered in Latin America, and most of the countries in South America, the main language is Spanish. So a lot of people think of Latin America, and they just think, okay, that's Spanish. But remember that Spanish and Portuguese are both Romance or Latin languages? Brazil speaks Portuguese, and you need to remember that, okay? Brazilians hate it when you think, oh, everyone speaks Spanish. No. In Brazil, they speak Portuguese, okay? Now, South America is a continent, but it is part of Latin America. We said Latin America is the area of the Americas that speaks either Spanish or Portuguese. That's normally, when you think about Latin America, Spanish and Portuguese are the main ones, and the influence of Spain and Portugal in the history of this area. So Brazil speaks Portuguese. Most people are familiar with Argentina. Argentina is a country a lot of middle school students have heard of. Argentina speaks Spanish. Chile, Chile, it was a very oddly shaped country. It's one of the longest and thinnest countries in the world. Chile, they speak Spanish. But you probably, even though you've heard of those countries, I'd say, some countries you may not have heard of. Bolivia, or Uruguay, or Paraguay. Those are countries most students haven't heard of, but those are countries that we are going to mention. Those are countries that you are going to need to know for next Tuesday's map test. So Latin America Part 1, you have a map test today. Next Tuesday will be Latin America Part 2. So, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to switch from the screen. We're going to briefly take a look at the maps and get you set from there. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's switch over. All right, everybody, we're at the maps, so let's go ahead and take a look. Now, of course, as usual, all these maps are going to be linked. So they will be linked on the module that you're on right now. So hopefully you've been reading the typed instructions. I'll have a link for the maps. By the way, ignore this rectangle right here that just got printed when I tried to erase some other writing that was there. So sorry for that. By the way, thanks to worldatlas.com for these maps. They are fantastic. So I love to give credit where credit is due. Let's take a look at South America political map countries, if Mr. McGee could talk. All right, so as usual, you're going to notice that there's numbers on all the countries. Here's your list to the side, which is going to be a lot easier to do than trying to write on the countries themselves. I put a check mark next to the countries that you need to know, meaning that the countries that don't have check marks, those are going to be bonus countries. So those are going to be the bonus points that you see on a lot of our geography map tests. But here's the thing. Study all of them and know all of them. That way, guess what? You get extra points. And if you happen to miss one of these ones with a check mark, you can still make it up by getting some of these correct. All right, so keep that in mind. Now, I do want to focus on one thing before I move on to capitals. These three right here, 11, 12, and 13. This is Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Most people do not know that these countries exist. They're kind of small, and yeah, they're kind of left in the background because people normally think of Brazil, number 1, Argentina, number 3, Chile, 4, or something like Peru, 7, Colombia, 9, or Venezuela, 10. But these three get left to the side. So remember, you're going to want to make sure you know all the countries of South America. That way you can get maximum points. And also, when we're talking about, countries in South America that border the Caribbean Sea, which is this area right here, you happen to know, okay, that's going to include 11, Guyana. 12, Suriname. 13, French Guiana. By the way, French Guiana, it is not actually a country. It's a territory that belongs to France. So, it's a French territory, belongs to France, but we need to learn about it anyway because it is on the continent of South America. So, keep that in mind. Here's your country. Here's your map. I was about to say, here's your maps. Here's your list of the country names. By the way, as usual, if you can't print out the maps that are linked on the module, or you can't type electronically on the maps, you still have access to purposegames.com. It's going to be McGee Class Latin America Part 2 countries and Part 2 capitals. So you still have purposegames.com. You still have worldatlas.com. You still have Cetera Online. So use those resources. Just because you can't print out a map or type on it, it doesn't mean that, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. You still have access to all those websites, plus this video that helps you know, oh, now I actually know what I need to study, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, let's go to capitals. So with capitals, just as we've always done, by the way, South America, political maps, capitals, we're only going to do 5 capitals. So you're going to need to know, number 1, the capital of Brazil. Number 3, the capital of Argentina. Number 4, the capital of Chile. Number 9, the capital of Colombia. And number 10, the capital of Venezuela. So those are your 5 capitals that you're going to need to know. We're going to flip over to physical features. Now, as usual, physical features can be land features and water features. We have our 2 holdovers from our first map test, Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. Now, if you remember, Atlantic begins with an A, that's a vowel. East begins with an E, that's also a vowel. So the Atlantic is going to border the Americas to the east. West begins with a W, that's a consonant. Pacific begins with a P, that's also a consonant. So the Pacific Ocean is going to border the Americas to the west. All right, now, there are a lot of physical features. This is not one where, let's say you've got 4 rivers that you have to memorize. You're not going to have something like that, but there are a lot of physical features that are all either connected to each other or very close to each other. And that is where you're really going to have to study to make sure you know, okay, see these trees here? By the way, this is Mr. McGee's artwork at its finest. This is about as good as Mr. McGee can actually draw. So see all those trees there? I can point to it. So there's the trees. That's the Amazon rainforest. But then you notice the Amazon River flows through the Amazon rainforest and empties into the Caribbean Sea. Now, by the way, if you ever look at a map of the Amazon River, just like any other large river, there are lots of smaller rivers that we call tributaries, if you remember that from the first quarter, that feed into it and make it very large. The Amazon is one of the largest rivers. We're talking about width from bank to bank. It's one of the largest rivers. It's not the longest river. That's the Nile River in Egypt. But it's one of the longest rivers. So you have the Amazon River starting there, flowing and emptying into the Caribbean Sea. Now, if you notice here, hey, what are these mountains here? This is one long mountain range. It is called the Andes Mountains. So Andes Mountains, one long mountain range. You notice it starts near the Colombia-Venezuela border, flows all the way down to southern Chile, and kind of makes up part of the border with Chile and Argentina. But if you look here, look what's in northern Chile. Oh, the Atacama Desert. All right, so you need to know that Atacama near the Andes, very high up, but you got the Atacama Desert. You also have 2 lakes. You have on the border of Peru and Bolivia, so notice that little circle there. You've got Lake Titicaca. Yes, I know it sounds funny in English, but that is its name, Lake Titicaca. So pause this video and laugh if you have to. All right, and then you have Lake Maracaibo, which is in Venezuela. So you have 2 lakes that you have to memorize. You got the Caribbean Sea to the north. Again, that rectangle does not matter. And no, it is not connected to the Bermuda Triangle either. There's not a bunch of shapes in the sea, in the Caribbean Sea. All right? So just keep that in mind. Caribbean Sea to the north, you got Atlantic Ocean to the east, Pacific Ocean to the west, and you've got these different physical features, but the key to remember is a lot of them are very close together. You've got to remember, Lake Titicaca down here, Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. I need to remember that the Andes Mountains runs the whole length of western South America. But I also have the Atacama Desert right here in northern Chile. The Amazon rainforest covers, if you notice, it covers a lot of northwestern Brazil, but also goes into a little bit of Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, in Guyana, Suriname, a little bit of French Guiana, and then I've got the Amazon River. All right, guys, that is your map. Remember, you've already taken Latin America Part 1 map test. Time to study now for Latin America Part 2. Throughout the rest of this week, we're going to be talking a lot about population distribution and population density, and on a bunch of environmental issues that are taking place in Latin America. All right, so that will probably be Thursday's assignment, right, in terms of population distribution and environmental issues. So we will tackle those then. All right, guys, take care. Remember, it's Tuesday, so conference time is 2:35 to 3:25. All right, take care, guys. And one more look at South America.